Well, hey everybody, how you doing? Dave Fennoy here, and I got a question for you. Is it hot enough? Is it hot enough? Wow. Global warming is real, and I know we're not talking politics and global warming and all that stuff, but I'm feeling for my friends up in the Northwest who are having temperatures, record breaking temperatures that they've never had before, and they don't have air conditioning. A couple weeks ago, my air conditioning went out for a minute, but I got that bad boy fixed. And I hope wherever you are, you can be comfortable. Anyway, on with the business. This is Ask Dave Fennoy Anything. We do it every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, Facebook Live. We talk all things voiceover. And these Ask Dave Fennoy Anythings live after the fact on YouTube at my YouTube channel, Dave Fennoy Voiceover Training. If you're somebody interested in taking voiceover coaching with me, you want to keep abreast of where I'll be teaching or who I'll be teaching for, and when we can actually get to other cities and do things like that, you might want to check in at davefennoy.com and sign up, and I'll get back to you if you get something to me and all that good stuff. Hey, I have got a great guest today. I'm going to bring her on right now. Carin, how are you? Carin Gilfry. Reading your resume, it's just amazing. You are one of those people that seems to do a little bit of everything, yes?
I do. I do a little bit of everything, and I love it.
Yeah.
That's what's so great about voiceover is you can do a little bit of everything.
Isn't it amazing?
It is
People
amazing.
these days know me mostly for video games, but I do some of everything. And uh, a lot of people just do this one thing or this other thing, but you're a multi-threat, and we're going to get into that in a minute. But there you are in your booth, and we were chit-chatting beforehand, and you and your husband are both voice actors.
That's right. He
Wow.
started after our first daughter was born because he had a day job that he was going to, and we were paying for a babysitter to come and watch Mahalia while I was working. And we realized, we're paying the babysitter like almost exactly as much as you're making at your day job, and you're an actor, so why don't you come and do voiceover in the booth with me? And so he's been doing it now for 4 years, and he loves it.
Oh, wow. Oh, now it
Yeah.
was teaching him voiceover like a husband teaching his wife how to drive.
Oh, yeah. He still calls me. He's like, "Hey, can you help me? I don't know what happened, but now it's in stereo, and can you fix it and make it in mono?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you just press this button." He's like, "Oh,
So
great, thanks,
you
got
you well he's got his tech gal right
it."
there.
Yeah.
So but listen,
Although I'm not that great of a tech person. It's just
well
it's
we
only
we
sort of
it's kind of like
part of
driving
what
a
we do.
car. You need to know enough to fix a flat,
Exactly.
put it in the right gear, all that stuff, open the trunk and
Exactly right.
look in and look, I don't know what any of this stuff is, but I can call the repairman. So listen, how did you get started in voiceover?
So I was originally an opera singer. I have degrees in opera singing from USC and Juilliard. And I was singing professionally for a couple of years. And I was in Switzerland. I couldn't do anything in Switzerland except sing. And I had a lot of time between gigs. And singing was just like not filling my soul the way that I wanted it to. I wasn't earning enough income. And I thought, what do I really want to do beyond this?
Mm-hmm.
And the first thought that came to my mind was, well, I really want to be a Disney princess. Well, that's a dumb idea, I told myself. But then I
that's
thought, what
that's
can I
like a
do? Right.
4-year old, I
Exactly.
want to be a
Exactly.
Disney
I want to be a
princess.
Disney
Oh, that's
princess.
so cute, honey.
Well, yeah. So so I said to myself, all right, what can I do that's like Disney princess adjacent? What can I do that's kind of related? Well, what are Disney princesses except, voice actors? So I thought, all right, that seems like a job that I would really like. I had a friend, Tim Campbell is his name, who is a singer who also is an audiobook narrator. And I thought, oh, that seems like kind of interesting to do audiobooks. So he kind of helped me figure out how to get started in audiobook narration. And then from then on, I built a little home studio on top of a desk. I like recorded some audiobook samples and I was off to the races. I recorded, I think, almost 40 books the first year that I was doing audiobooks.
Oh,
They
I'm
were
so
all
sorry.
royalty share. They paid nothing. I
Yes.
made like under $8,000 the first year that I was a voice actor, but I just loved it. I found that I loved recording myself. I liked negotiating my own contracts. I loved auditioning. And then after I had been in audiobooks for like about 2 years, I decided that I wanted to get into commercials and other kinds of voiceover. And then it was just go, go, go from there.
So now, how long have you been doing this? How many years?
Since 2013, 2012,
2013?
so like
Okay.
8, 9 years almost.
Okay. And it's funny because I've been doing this in LA since 1990. So when somebody says 20, I go, oh, well, it really hasn't been that long. And I think, oh, yeah, no, we're 21 years into this century. So, yeah,
Yeah, I know,
that
right?
can be
We're
some
well
time.
into it.
And now, you said in the first couple of years, 40 audiobooks. Are you still doing a lot of audiobooks?
I don't, but it's interesting that you started with saying that I do a lot of different genres. I do that. I still do some audiobooks and I do lots of different genres because I never want to only rely on one source of jobs. If for some reason, I do a lot of commercials now, but if for some reason my voice goes out of style and all they want is like 17-year-old young men or something like that, then I need to have other work in place so that if the commercial work dries up, I can do e-learning and I can do audiobooks and I can do video games and I can do promo or whatever. I can do all this other stuff. And if any of those genres dry up, I have all of these other genres that I'm working on. So I still do audiobooks, though now it's more like 6 a year instead of like 40.
Yeah.
Uh, but I just want to keep those clients. I feel like it's bad karma to get rid of clients that have been with me this whole time. And
That have been your cheerleaders and support and
right,
have been
it's
paying you
supported
money.
me, and they pay me well. They pay me the rates that I should be getting, and so I just can't say I'm not
Yeah.
going to do your,
It's
you know,
interesting. I don't do audiobooks, but I do audiobooks when I'm playing characters in
yeah,
audiobooks because many of the audiobooks now, it's not just one narrator. They have somebody narrating, and then perhaps you are playing a character or two. So it's not as many pages. To me, it's my attention span for audiobooks is just not that good. So it allows me to do that. But lots of commercials, documentaries, e-learning programs, IVR systems, phone systems. But you got some pretty big clients.
yeah,
I was looking at FedEx, Citibank, Volkswagen, IKEA, Miracle Ear, Estee Lauder, Nutrisystem. Reminds me I need to lose a couple pounds. And right now, you're the brand voice of CVS Health.
yes.
Wow, good
And the
gig.
CVS, the CVS thing is really cool because I'm the brand voice across everything they do, or nearly everything they do. So I do radio, I do TV, I do their internal videos, I do any web videos that they have. They wanted one brand voice across everything, so I get to do all of that, and it's like the
And
greatest
how
honor
long
of my life.
how
Love
long
it.
have you had that gig?
Uh, I think it was 2 years in March.
Oh, okay. Very good. Very good. And just so people know, this is the holy grail of voiceover is to have a client or clients like that are come back and come back and come back and need you and need you and need you. I cannot emphasize enough when you can get repeat business. That's what you want. If you want to build a career, it's not these one-offs. It's great when you get that one little gig here. Great little. I'm not saying turn them down, uh, but keep your eyes open and your ears perked up for these great opportunities. Can
I
I ask
agree
you
so
now?
much.
Did that come from your own efforts or through an agent?
That came through my managers actually at ACM
Okay.
Talent.
Excellent. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. ACM was.
I love them. They are like the hardest working team in show business in my opinion. I'm talking to at least one of them almost every day. They're always there for me. They always have new and exciting opportunities. I think they're great. So,
Well, a lot of people are trying to get an agent, or they just got an agent, or they're hoping one day that maybe they'll have an email address of an agent. Uh, how do you communicate with your agents? One, what do you think is the best way to get an agent? And B, how do you work with an agent? I have met so many people that I got an agent now, I don't want to bother them.
yeah. So, I guess the question is kind of twofold. So, first of all, when is the right time to get an agent, and how do you get an agent, right?
Hmm.
I think if you have a kind of normal, generic sounding voice, you're not really that unique in any way. You really have to have you are very marketable, but you really have to have a body of work that shows that you are booking before agents will be interested in you. That's what I've kind of seen with most people, is that if you are, a regular person with a regular sounding voice, you really need to have a body of work behind you before agents will really care about you. Um, if you are someone who's more unique, if you have a very unique sounding voice, or if you're a lot younger or a lot older, or if you are an ethnicity that they don't have on their roster, if you fit something that they don't have, you might be able to get an agent sooner than other people because they need you on their roster. Now, you might not be as marketable, but when jobs come along that fit you, the agents will absolutely send things to you right away.
Well,
Um,
I think it's when you talk about, you said if you're just somebody with a regular voice, um, whatever that means.
Whatever that
Uh,
means.
and I actually do kind of understand, because it's a double-edged sword right now. I think there's a certain thing that they are looking for,
Yeah,
that is the voice of today, which tends to be the voice of the guy or gal next door.
exactly.
And but what happens now is there are a lot of guy and gals next door that are represented. So if you're not that, you might have an easier time, as you were saying. But
Yeah.
uh,
And agents really have a responsibility to the actors who are already signed with them and on
yeah,
their roster. So if they have 20, 30 something women with North American accents, they're not going to take 20 more
right,
30 something women with North American accents, right?
yeah.
But if you are an African American woman in your 60s, that might be a really cool thing, and they would be really interested in you because they don't have 20 of you already on their roster, right?
Well, I don't
So,
know if we have any African American women in their 60s right now, listening, watching, but I know in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, there are some here. Uh, and that's one of the interesting things about voiceover is it's not specific to age. I have students that are very young. I have students that are older than me, and everybody's got a shot if they've got the talent and can learn to do this.
absolutely.
So you've got a thing, vocation conference, for
Yeah.
voiceover. What's that all about, and how did you get it started? What
So,
motivated you?
the Vocation Conference is a conference that I put on once a year with my colleague and co-founder Jamie Muffett, who is he has a podcast called the VO School Podcast, which is excellent. Um, Jamie and I both run big Facebook groups. I run Voice Actors of NYC, which is based in New York, although now I just moved last year to Southern California, so I'm no longer in charge of everything over there. But we have a great team of admins. But I was
How are you
running.
finding the bagels here?
Well, we haven't had many bagels.
Oh, by the way, wait a minute before you go on. Renee Tabor, I'm listening, but I'm over 60s. What do you think for an African American woman? uh, I'm gonna answer for you.
Go
I,
ahead.
you got a shot, Renee. You got a shot. They're looking for you. Agents
Yeah.
are looking for you. Now, do go on.
I want to add though, I think that everybody really has a shot in voiceover. If you have the drive and you are excited about it and you want to learn and you can be professional, I think everybody has a shot in voiceover, which is so great. But you're so right; they're looking for her right now.
Absolutely, absolutely.
um, so vocation, yes. So Jamie and I realized that voiceover is like maybe 10% talking behind the mic and like 90% everything else. Direct marketing, talking to agents, auditioning, doing contracts, setting up your home studio, all kinds of things that are really related to owning a small business. Because when you're a voice actor, you're not just an artist, you're an artist with your own business. The same way, like a freelance photographer is an artist, but you have to have equipment and you have to know how to use Photoshop. And there are many different kinds of photographers. There's newborn photographers and corporate photographers and all kinds of stuff. Same as in voiceover. So we wanted to start the vocation conference to specifically address all of the business parts of voiceover. So we talk about taxes, we talk about rates, we talk about negotiating contracts. We had panels this past year with people who specialized in e-learning and people who are demo producers and all kinds of things. And it's all the business of the business.
What
And
do you
so far
think
it's
the
really
biggest
fun.
mistakes people getting into voiceover business-wise make?
I think that a lot of people who come from an acting background, or like me, from I was just an opera singer, a performance background. When you're a stage actor or a stage performer, you kind of are taught that there's a path that you follow, and you wait for people to give you permission to move on to the next step. So for me in opera, I got a bachelor's degree, I got a master's degree, I did all of the fancy summer programs for opera singers. I was in a young artist program at the LA Opera. I left that young artist program and I was suddenly out in the real world needing a manager. And then my manager was supposed to open up doors for me, and I was supposed to win competitions that would open up doors for me. And there was no sense of taking the reins of your own career.
You did not feel like you were in
I
control.
exactly. I
You're
didn't
being
feel like I
pulled
was in
along. Oh,
control.
now I need to do this, and now I need to do this, and
Exactly.
be judged by these people, and be judged by.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And I think in voiceover, you have so much more opportunity to really be in charge of yourself and your own career. And people who start in voiceover kind of think that they're going to get an agent or get their big break and then they're going to be a star. And that's really not how it happens. Even right now I feel like I'm working all the time. I'm kind of at the top of my game, but I'm still constantly auditioning and finding new clients and keeping in touch with my old clients and building the relationships that I have made over the past 8 years so that I will have a career for years and years to come. I'm not waiting for someone to get me work and to find me opportunities.
You know, it's
So,
interesting because I come from old school voiceover where I came to LA. I had an agent in the union, and that's still pretty much how I work. And but the world has changed. You still have agents and people like me that are basically getting work through agents and auditions. But there's a whole other world out there of people who are creating their own work. And I do a little bit of that, but not nearly as much as I think some of the newer people in the business, because I don't really have to.
yeah.
But I remember a time when the economy crashed in 2008. My two biggest clients went out of business. Somebody at my door. My two biggest clients went out of business,
Yeah.
and they were steady clients, and it just threw my entire financial world. It just wrecked it. It was ruined. I had to sell my house, made no money, moved into a condo for a couple of years, and had to work my way back. And I learned then the lesson that you are teaching now: always be looking for new work. And despite the fact that I have agents. What I did was add more agents. What I did was get in touch with people I had worked with before, former clients, and created a presence on the internet, which I probably wasn't going to do just Facebook. I don't know. Why do we have to do that? And I've seen so many people who got into business when I did, or even before, who did not want to keep up with whatever the new technology was. If they went as far as a beeper, they wouldn't go as far as a cell phone. If they went as far as a cell phone, they wouldn't go as far as putting a studio in their house. And these are the things that the business requires of you now.
It's true.
And another thing I didn't have to deal with were the pay-to-play sites. And you wrote a very good article on how to handle the pay-to-play sites. I don't know if it was a month ago or a couple months ago, but tell me how you work with the pay-to-play sites, how you feel about them, how you avoid being what I call one of their victims that just pays but never gets to play.
Yeah. So I started on pay-to-plays before I ever had an agent. I was on pay-to-play sites. I actually didn't even know that people were still going to in-person auditions and still had agents until I had been a voice actor for maybe like 3 years. I didn't know. I didn't even know that there was a union that I was supposed to join until I had been a voice actor for almost 4 years. I mean, I knew that SAG-AFTRA existed. I didn't know that they would have any jurisdiction at all over my e-learning work or anything like that. I thought that it
Can
would
I
be
just
for
say
fun.
this?
Yeah, please.
What you just said there, I didn't know, but I was doing. I didn't know, but I was doing. I didn't know, but I was doing. This is a message everybody needs to get. You don't have to know it all to get started. Just
So true.
get started.
So true. I tell people all the time, you grow as you go. You don't need the fanciest equipment. You don't need an $8,000 a year membership to a pay-to-play site. If you're just starting out, you don't need a fancy Studio Bricks booth until you need it. And hopefully, you build your business, you start making income, and you upgrade when you have the means and the need to do so. So, and you learn and you learn and you learn. I learned not as quickly as I could have, but I learned as I was going. I also didn't know that
You
there
don't
were,
know if you learned as quickly as you could have or should have. You learned in the time that you learned. And in the
yeah,
place you are now with the career that you want, I'd say you're doing okay.
yeah. I didn't realize that there were Facebook groups for voice actors until I had been in the business for a long time. And then as soon as I joined a Facebook group that was for voice actors, I found this community of people who taught me the things that I didn't know. And we had discussions. And I know it's really annoying in Facebook groups when people ask the same question over and over and over again. But I was one of those people when I first started asking basic questions in a Facebook group. And the answers that I got helped me tremendously. And so in my Facebook group, Voice Actors of NYC, we say no question is a dumb question. You can ask the same question over and over again. We don't really care. We might tell you to look in the search for the group and you'll get even more answers.
Well,
But
I tell them,
some
yes,
people
there are
will
some
answer.
dumb questions. Ask them anyway.
Ask them anyway. Ask Dave anything.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
But yeah, pay-to-play sites. So I started on pay-to-play sites. I had no idea there were any ethical concerns about anything. I was just putting myself out there and trying to do my best. I learned pretty quickly that there are ways to play the pay-to-play sites, to work completely within the parameters that they've set up to optimize your profile and book the most high-level work you possibly can. So the first way, and this is let's just assume all pay-to-plays are ethical and everything's fine, and we'll take out all the ethical concerns for now. The first thing you should do is maximize your profile. So fill it out as much as you possibly can with as many different descriptive words and as many demos and samples as you can put up on your site. The reason is that the pay-to-play sites, the bigger ones, have a lot of job volume. And so they're not sending every audition to all the people who have memberships on their site. They are sending you auditions based on an algorithm that matches your profile to a job posting. So if you have on your profile somewhere, female, North American, young adult, friendly, conversational, and you have an e-learning demo, right? 6 things. And someone posts an e-learning job that is female, North American, young adult, friendly, conversational, I have hit all of those points in the algorithm. And so they will either send me that audition first, or when I get the audition, I'll be listed first in the audition results.
And when you say an
Now,
algorithm, what you're saying is this is not a human being that is going, oh,
no,
let me send this to that person. Let me send this to that person. It's
it's a
artificial
computer.
intelligence
Yeah.
that says, oh, there, she has all of these matching
Yeah,
words.
she matches this,
I
and the
will
job
send it
listing says
to
this.
her.
Yeah. Now, if I had female, North American, young adult, friendly, conversational, but I don't have an e-learning demo, I only have a commercial demo, I won't be sent that job first. I might be sent the job second, third, fourth. I might be sent the job in like the 250th email. Or when I get that audition and I submit it, even if I'm the 10th person to audition, my audition result will be listed below all the people who were 100% matches. So the 2 things that you want to have success on pay-to-plays are to be first, and that's pretty much it. You want to be first, and you want to match what they're looking for, right? Because all clients, as they're hearing audition after audition after audition after audition, you start to kind of get brain and ear fatigue. So if you can be within the first 10 people to audition, you are doing great. You have a much better job of booking that gig than somebody who is the 51st audition. So you want to be first, and the way that you're first is to match the best to different jobs, the job postings. So fill out your profile to the max. It asks for many demos on all of these sites, but there are like, I don't know, 15 different categories. If you spent $2,000 per demo on 15 different categories, that's like $30,000 worth of demos. You don't want to do that, right? So if you are under budget constraints and you don't have $30,000 lying around, make professional demos for the genres that you know you really want to work in. And then for the other genres, just record a little voice sample of yourself. Not a fully produced demo, doesn't matter. It just has to match the algorithm. So you can record like a little 15-second snippet of you doing medical narration. Put it up there and say medical narration sample. Then when there's a medical narration job, you will match to that job and you'll get the audition. Whereas if you don't have a medical narration sample, you won't match to the job and you might not get the audition. So that's my overall basic best advice. We can get more into the weeds, but that's basically how it works. Oh, one more thing though.
Mm-hmm.
You should really set your budget minimums. You don't want to be getting a bunch of $100 jobs, right?
No.
Almost nothing is only worth $100. So set your budget minimum for what is your minimum for what you want to be paid per job, and then you won't see those other jobs that are not worth your time.
Well, let me ask you this about, well, one, before we continue, let me just say this to, what you're saying, what you're sharing is vital information, and I know people are eating this up. But while you're eating it up and listening, jot down your questions that you might have for Carin, so I can get them up there. This one is out of the box here, but Natalie Hitzel, what do you think the industry will look like for us in another decade or two?
That's a really great question. I think we're going to see a lot more smart speaker stuff. So we all have Alexa, Siri, Google Home, whatever we have. I think that every website you go to, you'll be able to go on your smart speaker, and they will have branded voices that are their brand voice on the smart speaker. So you'll be able to say, hey Google, go to chasebank.com, and then you'll hear like, hi, I'm, Chase. Welcome to Chase Bank. Can I help you with something? And it'll be a lot more like IVR on your smart speaker. So I think we're going to see a lot of that. I think e-learning is going to continue to expand, especially in a post-COVID world where everyone's kind of working from home and people don't want to rent out big old conference rooms for in-person trainings. There's going to be a lot more e-learning, a lot more audiobooks,
On
uh,
on on
video
the
games, I
on the
think.
e-learning tip and conference rooms, I think just the cost of travel and conference rooms, but despite the fact that we're all a little nervous about somebody that might sneeze within 10 or 12 feet of us, um, I think it gives you a whole other feeling. And now that, we have we can have, 100 people on Zoom. So
More if you pay.
more if you pay. The possibility for remote learning from all over the world is so viable now. So yeah, go on.
I don't think I'm actually really excited about AI. I don't think in 10 years voice actors will all be replaced by artificially intelligent synthetic voices, but I think the technology is really cool. And I think that any voice actor who's like la 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 la, I'm not going to pay attention to it, you're going to be left in the dust. So it's important to just pay attention to how the technology is moving forward. What are the ethical ways that we as voice talent can be involved in the rollout of AI and synthetic voices?
Well,
Um,
it's a double-edged sword. On one hand,
it really is.
there are jobs out there for people to be the voice of AI. I'm a Google voice, so I certainly
That's
did
awesome.
my part to ruin this whole
Woohoo!
thing for us all. But so often we're not getting paid enough for that,
Yeah,
and B, um, it's going to take a certain amount of work, some of which I don't worry about. If you're pulling up to a fast food place and you push the button and it says, "Hi, how can I help you?" and that kind of thing, I don't care. There are enough um, explainer videos for, say, maybe you bought something and you got to put it together, and so you've got a voice that is just giving you information. It's not trying to connect with you here and here.
exactly.
I think that's where our industry is going to continue to thrive, is when you have to touch people's heads and hearts.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's very similar to synthetic instruments, I think.
Hmm.
Because people said in the 80s and 90s, like, uh, synthetic, instruments are never going to replace live instruments. And then you had all these films that just use synthetic instruments. I was watching, I don't know if you remember Fern Gully from the
Hmm.
90s.
I remember the name. I don't think I
I
ever
loved that
watched it.
movie when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I just watched it with my daughter, who's 4, the other day. The entire score is synthetic instruments. And I
Hmm.
didn't notice that when I was a kid. I just loved the movie, right? So,
Yeah.
but if you want something to sound really amazing, you still use a live orchestra, you know?
Yeah.
People said drum machines will never replace drummers, but almost all pop music uses drum machines, to some extent. So I think there will always be a need for real and live, but these synthetic voices will be used a lot more than I don't know. We'll just have to see.
We'll just
There
have to.
might be
Well,
genres of voiceover that exist 10 years in the future that we can't even. imagine now.
Yeah, oh, well, I
You know?
imagine there will be, just like we can't predict what music will be.
Right.
Uh, and speaking of synthetic instruments, we have a lot of music now that's out there that includes, old style instruments as well as synthetic instruments and actual people singing and synthesized voices joining in. So it's a marriage of different technologies, old and new. Um,
Absolutely.
a little question from out of the blue here. What are your thoughts on Fiverr compared to other pay sites?
That is a great question. So, Fiverr is very problematic. The reason is that Fiverr is not charging industry standard professional rates for voiceover. Um, and I know a lot of people who start on Fiverr. I know a lot of people who earn a decent living on Fiverr. And most of those people don't realize what professional voiceover rates really are. They're just naive, they just don't know. The minute you go to the GVAA rate guide or to the Gravy for the Brain rate guide, or even go to the SAG AFTRA rate cards and see what people are making for the same amount of work that you're doing on Fiverr, I think the more you know, the better you do. Um, I when I started, so the pay to play sites, first of all, I think they have like Voice 123. I know you can do projects on there for free. Voices.com, I think, has a $100 minimum. So at
When
least
you
there's
say Voices 123, you can do projects for free, meaning you don't pay, or they will
meaning they
that or you
have
just
like
do them for free
student.
for other people.
So like the same way that Backstage has like student projects
Yeah.
and you just are a part of the student project to build your resume. I don't quote me on this. I'm sorry, Voice 123, if I'm saying this and it's false information, but I think that they have an option where the pay is TBD or it's for no pay for a student project. Um, so there's that. But I think that the minimum rates are at least there, whereas Fiverr, you're charging $5 for a voiceover, and you can up your rates. But there are people on the site charging $5 for a voiceover,
Well,
and I don't know of any voiceover that's only worth $5.
uh,
So
well, I've heard some that I was surprised got paid, but yeah, $5 is.
So, if you're on Fiverr or you know people on Fiverr, I would encourage you to talk about usage and talk about your worth as an actor and talk about your worth licensing your voice, because that's essentially what we're doing. When I do a 30-second commercial for CVS, it doesn't take that long to record a 30-second commercial. It's not like recording an audiobook, right? Which takes a long, long time. But they're not paying me for the time that it takes to record the voiceover. They're paying me for the licensing of my voice to endorse their product. And they're also paying me, and for the time period that they're going to license my voice. And they're also paying me to only voice uh, in store pharmacies for CVS and not for Walgreens
Yeah.
and not for any other company, right? So they're paying me to be the voice of their brand and they're licensing my voice for that purpose. And that doesn't cost $5, even though the time to record the commercial is very short. So I
Part
think
of what they're paying you for is the work that you're not getting because you could be doing this for someone else.
that's exactly right.
I've been a Lexus voice for a long time, not the main Lexus voice, but thank God they come back every month. And that's part of what they're paying me for is you're not going to hear me on Ford or Toyota or any other car dealer. Uh, and of course, when you're working union, you get those jobs that you can't work for any other, and insert whatever industry it is there. And that's a big lesson because, as you're saying, what they're paying for is not the time you spend in the session. It's not that I just delivered this sound file to you. But where's that sound file going to be played? How long is it going to be played for? And
How many
what
people are going to see
how
it?
many people are going to see it, hear it, and what can I not do because I'm doing this for you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly right.
Okay, let's see. Bill Kernoodle. Oh, that you must have fun saying that. Hi, I'm Bill Kernoodle. I see you're a singer also. Do you find any voiceover jobs that include singing? I am a singer and I'm wondering if I should make some sort of singing demo as well as my other demos. Thanks. I get a question a lot from people who sing. Should I, I'm a singer, should I put some singing on my commercial demo or on my animation demo? What are your thoughts?
So, if you want to sing in film and television, you have to be basically a session singer as your primary career. It's a very closed group. You have to be an excellent sight reader. You have to have an excellent ear. And very often you have to be able to sing in character very, very well. I have friends who are part of the LA Master Chorale who are working as session singers in LA all the time. A lot of it is still in person if you're singing in a group. There is singing work out there. I have done a lot of children's songs um, for different YouTube channels and Spotify playlists and whatever for various children's music companies. It doesn't pay that well, but most of the session singing work is union. But you really kind of have to be part of the club. You have to know somebody who can vouch for you and say, this person is absolutely excellent and you should hear them, people who contract singers. There are really only a couple of people who contract singers for the studios in LA. So the work is there, but it's kind of location specific and you have to be really, really excellent.
And it's an even smaller club than the
Yes.
voiceover club.
Yes.
Wow.
Very much so.
Yes, yes, yes. I know a number of singers who are pros and sing on a lot of records and tour with the big stars and whatnot. And even they have difficulty maintaining steady work in that area. Yeah.
It's true.
So now, what would you do different if you were starting your career now than when you started your career?
I love that question. I just asked that of our working pros panel when we had our working pros panel at Vocation a couple weekends ago. I wish that I had known more when I first started. I kind of just, and this is, I think this is kind of my personality anyway. I don't think a lot before I do. I
Welcome
just
to
kind
the
of,
club.
my husband's like, let's go to Vegas right now with the kids. And I'm like, great, let's go, let's get in the car. And then we're halfway there and we're like, wait, who's watching our dogs? You know, like,
Mom,
not that that happened, but that's something that would happen to me. I'm just a doer. Um, I wish that I had learned more before I started working professionally because when I started, I got into some situations where I really wasn't being paid what I should have, and I did a lot of work for very little money. Now, on the one hand, that was great practice because it was kind of a low stakes way to get behind the mic and really learn how to record myself. But on the other hand, you know, I feel like I could have done better for myself and my business back then. I wish that I had known about the voiceover community before. I wish I had known that it existed when I started because I think that I would be further along in my career even than I am now if I had known a couple of years earlier how open and welcoming and helpful the voiceover community is online. So that's about it.
okay. Got a question here. Natalie's. Are games and animation generally not seen on P2P, play to play sites? Pay to play sites?
Animation, not so much. Games, there are quite a lot of video games on there. Um, a lot of games that are apps, you know, so not like a game that you would play on a PlayStation, but a game that's an app game. Um, Yeah, they're definitely on there.
What's
It's
the pay like for those games?
It depends. So, um, it's really a range because sometimes you have game developers who are just starting a new thing and they have been doing the voices for all of the characters this whole time. And then finally they want to hire a voice actor to do a few lines and it pays crap because, it pays like $200 for a 2 hour session where
Ooh,
you're doing like hundreds of lines. Um, and that's because they just don't have the budget because they're literally just in their garage making this game. But other games I've seen pay pretty well. It's on the pay to play sites, you're typically dealing with non union. Um, every once in a while, there will be a union job that starts out union that's on there that's meant for union actors to audition. Um, but for the non broadcast jobs, you can very often convert a job from non union to union if it meets the minimum requirements. And that's something that not a lot of union actors know. Is that you can convert non-broadcast work pretty easily through a paymaster if you want to do more voiceover.
yeah. Now, the games that you've done some video games, and once again, uh, you've done so many different kinds of things. Generally, I don't think of people who are doing documentaries and e-learning and IVR systems as somebody who then, steps over the line and now they're being a badass character. I just see people often having a very difficult time stepping from one genre, especially one where clear enunciation and making sure that everybody understands everything you say. And then you're going to, hey, I'm playing this character that maybe the character don't even speak real human.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, what is it about you that you could make that switch?
So, one thing that I think helps me a lot is that I love auditions. And I do probably like between 7 and 30 auditions a day, typically. I know that's a lot, but what's great about it is that I don't spend a lot of time on each one. I know, like, this is me, this is how I'm going to read it. If you like me, you can hire me. If not, I'm not going to spend 30 minutes per audition. Um, this is me, right? And that's what I would do at an in person audition. You walk into the room, they give you the script, you do a read, they say great, they give you some direction, you do a second take, they say great, and you leave. You don't have the time to sit there and analyze everything and spend 2 hours doing an audition. So, but auditioning a lot for many different genres also means that I have to be versatile all the time because I'll do a video game audition in the morning, and then I'll do 2 e-learning auditions in the late morning, and then I'll do 5 commercial auditions in the afternoon, and then at night before I go to bed, I'll do 2 more e-learning auditions and an animation audition. So then the next day, when a cartoon comes from Nickelodeon, it hasn't been 4 months since I took an animation class, and that's the last time I've done character voices. I just did it yesterday in an audition. So I feel like auditioning a lot keeps me really flexible and keeps me versatile. And then also, I see what's in style now. you know, it's not like I took a video game acting class 4 years ago and now everything is totally different. And I'm getting this audition for the first time, and everything that I learned is from 4 years ago, or from that one teacher that used to work in video games 10 years ago. So I think that's part of it, is just doing a lot of auditions keeps you really flexible and versatile. But I know not everybody likes auditioning that much, and that's okay too. Whatever you like to do, however your brain works, is
Well,
totally
if you
fine.
if you don't like to audition and you don't audition much, you're not going to work much.
No, it's true.
I
Well, but I know people who just direct market. They almost never audition. They're looking on LinkedIn, they're finding companies that they want to work for. They're sending 10 to 15 emails a day out to different people who are explainer video producers and e-learning producers, and they're just emailing all day instead of auditioning all
I
day.
would shrivel up and die
So would
if
I.
if that was all I could do. I so love the variety of things that I get to do. I love doing the TV promos. I love doing the commercials. I love being silly characters on things. I love video games. I just don't. Ooh,
Do you do motion capture
I do.
often? How is it?
Not as often as I do simply voice. I like motion capture.
Yeah.
I don't look as good as I'd like in that black suit with dots all over it, but because it's so form fitting, you know, reminds me
I'm
of,
sure.
you know, my father used to tell a joke about the little boy said to the fat man, "When I grow up, I want to have a great big chest just like you, only up a little higher." But motion capture is much more like being on, well, it is on camera, being on camera
Yeah.
on stage. And the differences are you have memorized your lines, you are
Yeah.
interacting with other actors, um, you may be, moving over to a table or a door or this. It may be made out of who knows what. You may be picking up a brick or a piece of wood to use as a phone, but
Right.
it's you get to do all the acting. You've got
Yeah.
to hit your mark and say your line. When I talk about teaching voiceover, the thing that we're trying to replace are all those things. You don't have
Hmm.
somebody else that you're talking to. You have not memorized the script. You are not in costume. You don't have blocking. You have to create all of those things while you're standing in front of this microphone and not getting off the microphone. And that's the challenge. So I enjoy it when I do it. I don't do as much of it. Often I have recorded something as the character, and then they hire some good-looking stunt guy who's 20 years younger to jump
To
off
do
of
the
stuff
to
and
do the
roll around on the
stunt.
floor.
Right.
But I did all my own stunt work in Gears of War, which
Oh,
I just
wow.
did a year and a half ago.
That's great.
Yeah, I needed a rub down and a hot tub and some
I
aspirin
bet.
afterwards, but
I bet.
it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Oh, let's see. Got another question here. Do you think the gaming animation industry is still going to be a great niche for us in the future?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely.
Oh, absolutely. It's video games that are the biggest industry in our industry of show business. More
It's true.
money than movies and music combined. Um, there's never been a movie made $1 billion in a year. There have been a number of games that, upon their release, have made $1 billion in a day. And $1 billion is a whole lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
That's a bunch of money. We've got a few more minutes here. What's your best advice for somebody starting now? Oh, you know what? I wanted to notice that you've got that 416, that Sennheiser 416. What made you decide to buy that microphone? What was the thinking?
So for me, it was because almost all of the commercial sessions that I was in studios all over New York and sometimes in LA, they used either a 416 or a Sennheiser MKH 416 or a Neumann U87. So I wanted to be able to work from home if they needed me to. And I thought the best thing to do would be to match the microphone that they had in the studio, so at least the microphone would be the same. So I bought a Neumann TLM 103 to kind of match the U87 a little better, and then the 416 I bought to totally match the 416s in the studio.
Now,
So
why the 103 to match the U87?
I mean, it's just a little bit warmer. It's a lot warmer actually than the 416. This has a very kind of sharp and sibilant sound. It's very directional. That's what it's meant for. It blocks out outside noise a little bit better because of the way that the microphone picks up your voice. Um, the 103, I don't know. It just sounds a lot closer to the U87 than the 416 does.
Well,
So, and they're both
and
Neumann. So
I asked that for a reason. The U87 would sound terrible in that booth.
yeah.
The U87 likes a big room. And I mentioned that because a lot of people don't do all the research saying, oh, no, I want a U87. It's the best mic in the world. But it doesn't like a small room. It sounds terrible in a small room. Where the 103 sounds great in a small room, and it's the same capsule.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. What I have in my booth are two mics the 416 and the TLM 103. And I can just push a button and switch between them.
Switch them out.
Although I use my 416 for almost everything.
I use my 416 for almost everything too. And often I'll have studios ask me what microphone I have, and I'll tell them, I'll give them the choice between both. And usually they choose the 416. I think especially because I do a lot of commercials, the sound is much more present, I guess, on the
Yeah.
416. It's a little more in your
Yeah.
face.
It's also the mic you're going to be using more often with TV promos. Which,
Yeah.
as I'm thinking, is this the one area that you don't work in?
I just actually did a bunch of TV promos for a kids network, but like just like a few weeks ago. But I don't do a lot of promo work, though I would like to. If any promo
Well, you got to
producers
start
are
somewhere, and
listening,
maybe this is where you
just
started.
call me up. Yeah.
Maybe this is the beginning of it. And I tell you,
Yes.
I think TV promos is one of the very best and most lucrative things you can do. Every time I've been the voice of some network or one of the voices, just love it, love it, love it. And I still get to do it, piecemeal here and there. But excuse me, but networks, cable channels, I'm available.
There he
You
is.
can put me under
Get him.
contract. John Malone has a question. Is it worthwhile to direct market to animation companies, or is that a waste of time?
I mean, I would say don't direct market to like Disney. Probably, right?
Yeah.
Because that's not how they normally find their talent.
No.
But if you are looking at like a company that does a lot of international dubbing, or if you are looking at a smaller animation house and or student projects at reputable places where they do a lot of animation, like a Cal Arts. Those people at Cal Arts, they might be students today, but they might be working at Disney tomorrow, and they might remember that you did their student film for them, and they loved you so much. So um, there are ways to direct market for animation, but I would say probably like Disney and DreamWorks and those kinds of companies, they're going to go through their agent and casting director channels that they always go through to find people. So
And
maybe that's not.
they're typically looking at A, B, C list actors, and then those of us who are, I would still call myself a journeyman voiceover guy. We get to get work because the stars are playing the main parts in these animated movies, and that used to bother me, but I've done enough of them now that it's like, well, thank you for having all these stars so the movie could get made so that I could have a small part in it, because the residuals spend just as well.
Yes. Yes.
And I was going to make a point that you kind of made. With people who are in school now to do video games or in school now to do animation, just like people who are in school, in film school, and want to make movies, they want to be directors, cameramen, so forth and so on, they need people that either aren't getting paid very much or not getting paid at all to be a part of their projects. And I really believe it's a good place to start, to find your group. I think of the number of directors out there that started working with actors early in their career, and they still work with them. Not only the actors, but the sound men and the cameramen and crew members that have had work with great directors for 20, 30 years because they helped them. They were part of a project when they were coming out of school. People are always your best resource. Never think of, it's this company or that company. It's the people within that company that you want to connect with. And let's see. Oh, John Malone has some kind of thank you. Thank you, guys, for your thoughtful answers. And don't worry, I'm not going to direct market to Disney or DreamWorks. Thank you, John. I don't know if you know John Malone, but
I
great
don't.
voice talent.
No, I do know John Malone a little bit, I think.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
know each
Great
other
guy.
from online. And well, so I'll give a caveat though, and that's that like we think of Disney, you're going to direct market to Disney and then they're going to put you on the Disney Channel or you're going to be in a feature film or something. There are so many parts to Disney
Yeah.
that you could maybe direct market to. So, like, maybe you want to be the voice in one of their apps. They have tons of apps, right? So, find the app developer for a Disney app and you can direct market to that person, right? Or, like, maybe you want to do something that's theme park related. So, they have voices in the theme park doing whatever. Find the people who develop those things and you can maybe direct market to them. Don't call up the people who are making the big films and say, "Hey, I'm a voice actor. I just got my animation demo. Can I send it to you?" Like, they might say no. But there are other people that you could maybe, if you want to be Disney adjacent, like I was Disney, like I'm Disney princess adjacent.
Yeah, there you
And
go.
that might work out well. So
There you go. Well, listen, this hour went by really fast. Carin, thank you so much for all your thoughtful information. I think people got to learn quite a bit, especially about the pay-to-play sites. Um, I know a lot of people. I'm not a fan of the pay-to-play sites. Never made a secret of that, especially a certain one that I'm not going to name. But they are a feature of today's voiceover business. If I were starting out now, they would probably be part of my business. But fortunately, I started at a time when they were not a factor, and I have not had to make them a factor in my business. But that doesn't mean other people can do it the way I'm doing it. And I know people who are having great careers using them, but they know how, and you helped share with some information with people to tell them how. So fantastic. So
thank you so much.
is your husband doing daddy duty now to keep your
He
kids from
is.
coming in?
They
Because I thought
just
it would have been so cute if they just came in.
I
Oh,
know,
mommy,
I
mommy.
know. Mommy, hi. They would have totally done it. Especially my oldest, she's like totally loves people.
Well, it's
And
really good when
cameras and
people love
microphones.
people.
It's true, it's true, it's true. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank
You're
you. This has
great.
been great, and gonna get people to come back again. It'll be months and
Yeah, I'll
months,
come
but
back
I'd love to have you
anytime you
again.
like. Anytime you
Fantastic,
like.
fantastic. Well, the best to your husband, the best to your kids,
Thank
and
you.
I don't know, 30 auditions in a day.
I don't
Woo!
usually do 30 in a day. I
Okay,
usually do like 5 to 10.
okay, okay. Now I
But
feel better.
sometimes when there's like a lot of really good auditions that are just
Yeah,
out there just begging to be done, then I might do that many in a day. But
and not all auditions are the same. Sometimes it's just a line or two, and
right, sometimes it's just a line or two. Sometimes there are multiple roles within one commercial that you could audition for. So you get one audition, or a video game, you get one like video game audition, but there are 5 different roles that you could possibly do in there. So, you know,
there you go.
it works.
Next time, I want to talk to you about voice health, but we'll cover that
Oh yeah.
another time. So, Carin Gilfry, thank you so much, and everybody else out there, thank you for joining in. We do it every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, Facebook Live. Ask Dave Fennoy anything. These live, as this one will shortly, on my YouTube channel, Dave Fennoy Voiceover Training. And if you are interested in voiceover training from Dave Fennoy, you can stop by davefennoy.com and sign up. Happy to work with you, and thank you all for being here. And book something, will you?